Pretty Girl Club. Today I'm going to talk about the jealousy of this black and Indian mixture. And then I also want to talk about the jealousy of the Caribbean exotical identity. So, some of the women you'll see in this video will have a Caribbean background, some of them won't. But I think that not enough people talk about how this black Indian mixture, it is the standard of beauty in the dark skin community. A lot of dark skinned women, they don't all want to be light skinned, but 90% of them want to have the hair textures that are associated with the Blindian exoticals. And I think that if you are a black and Indian exotical, if you have kind of this West Indian background, I think that part of what makes you special is you're definitely black adjacent and in some cases black passing. You'll see some of the pictures here, like Tyla's sister. Her hair texture is like a type 4, and she has the same mom and dad as Tyla. And so I think that some women get jealous because you have an ability to flow in and out of the black community very easily, because a lot of you guys have this brown skin tone. A lot of black and Indian women are not white passing. And so a lot of you guys also have this middle range, kind of light chocolate skin tone or like a milk chocolate skin tone. Some of the women that you're going to see on this slideshow are a little bit lighter skin, and part of that is because they're mixed with white. But if you do not have whiteness as a part of your mix, then a lot of you guys have this deep cinnamon nutmeg complexion. So you are the standard of beauty in the dark skin community. And it's also going to be very hard for people to deny your blackness if you have a deep brown skin tone. It's very difficult for them to throw you out of blackness, because your skin tone is literally mirroring theirs. So I think that's another thing that women get jealous of, is the fact that you're black passing while simultaneously being mixed. So they can't really talk shit about how you look. Black women can't talk shit about how you look if you have a Blindian mix, because your skin tones are often very similar to theirs. So they can't talk shit about you without exposing their internalized colorism. And I've also noticed something specific about the Indian black mixed women. The fact that you can fit in with light skin mixed women, even if you have a deeper skin tone, I think that is probably one of the number one things that people get upset with, because in the dark skin black community, a lot of them have this talking point that they are the light skin women's sidekick. A lot of them have this talking point that they can't fit in with light skin. So when you see somebody like Tatiana Ali being in the Light Girls documentary, even though Tatiana Ali herself, she doesn't necessarily identify as light skinned, but notice how she easily was a part of the Light Girls documentary, standing in solidarity with light skinned women. She didn't have to identify herself as being light skinned, but her experience was so similar to women in the light skinned community that she could relate more to them versus relating to unambiguous dark skinned black women. So I think one of the things that makes people mad, if you are a Caribbean Blindian exotical, what makes them mad is the fact that you share their skin tone, but you don't share their trauma. You might share a similar skin tone. Sometimes you might share a hair texture or a couple of features, but you don't share their trauma. And so sometimes people get especially angry at you because it's like, how dare you be dark and be privileged? How dare you not be white passing and still be the pinnacle of beauty? How dare you not be light skinned and still be able to relate to women in the Light Girls documentary? How dare you make money and status out of your proximity to the black community, but then you're actually mixed? And then you have that wet and wavy hair texture in a lot of cases. And speaking of that, I think there is this fascination with the island girl identity. So if your background involves an island, your background is from Trinidad, from Jamaica, from the Bahamas, I just feel like there is this exoticism that you get as well, because think about it. Every time unambiguous women go on vacation, they want to look like you. They want to have a tan skin tone, and they want to have wet, silky hair, and they want to put a flower in their hair and then take some photos. That is your core identity. That's literally where your ancestors are from. So I think there's another layer of jealousy there as well, because people associate island girls with being carefree. You're the summertime standard of beauty. When they say summertime fine, they're talking about you. They're talking about the Black and Indian exoticals. They're talking about these Caribbean exoticals. They're talking about the women who get in the pool and, they've got this long flowing hair. They don't have to worry about their hair drying up in the ocean. That is kind of the stereotype of the Caribbean exoticals, I've noticed. Also, a lot of people stereotype you as being the standard of beauty in terms of your body type as well. Because I've noticed that whenever they show videos of Caribbean exoticals, like usually it shows them dancing somehow, kind of shaking their hips and whining. So it's not twerking. It's not as sexualized as twerking, but it's more so like kind of shaking their hips in a sensual way. So it's like, okay, these women are the summertime standard of beauty. When you go on vacation, you're trying to look like a Blindian exotical. You're trying to look like a Caribbean exotical. You're trying to buy a lace front so your hair can mimic the hair textures of a lot of the Douglas exoticals. That's what it is. You are the summertime standard of beauty. They're trying to tan to your skin tone, or they only feel comfortable in their skin tone when their hair and their features mimic yours. And I also think that people have a cultural envy as well if you have kind of this island background. Because think about it, most people go on vacation to islands. So your hometown, your home country, that's literally these bitches' vacation spots. Okay, so where you're from, that's where people are vacationing. That's where people imagine having the soft life. They associate your country with having a soft life. They associate your country with leisure and luxury and having a form of status. They're over here trying to date white men so those white men can take them to your island of origin. So I feel like even when it comes to your cultural background, that is definitely a whole different pedestal right there. So if you are culturally privileged, and then on top of that, you have mixed race privilege, or you have, type 3 hair privilege, or some of you guys have light skin privilege, or you have certain features that are exotified, that is going to be a jealousy trigger for sure. Historically, a lot of people from the islands, if you just look at documentaries about them and stuff, you'll see a lot of them dancing and doing how they have like carnival and all that. That's kind of the stereotype. Okay, so people are stereotyping your background as being carefree. They're stereotyping your background with music, dancing, celebration, community, emotional expressiveness. So that's another thing. Have you ever noticed that when you're an unambiguous African American woman, they make this rule where it's like you're not allowed to be loud. You can't be loud. But I don't see them keeping the same energy when it comes to the island girls. That's considered cute. That's considered pretty and exotic. You're blowing a horn all hella loud. You're out in the streets dancing. That's considered beautiful, exotic, and sexy. So I think that is another privilege that you have if you're like a Caribbean exotical. You're getting exotified not just for your phenotype, not just for your race, but also for your actual background or for that island that you're from. From Jamaica. How many people do you know of who are beefing with Jamaica? How many people have you ever met who hate the island of Jamaica? I've never heard of that. But if you are an exotical island girl, you are a social media standard of beauty as well. Because think about it, they're flying all the way across the world, flying all the way across the country to go to your island, put on a hair texture that looks like yours, show off their skin tone that looks like yours, put a filter or edit their features to make them look like yours. And they're doing all that just so they can get photos for social media. So I think that is something else as well. You have the social media standard of beauty for dark skin. You have the social media standard of beauty for the summertime season. You have the social media standard of beauty when it comes to vacation. They have to go on a whole vacation to get your aesthetic. That's what it is. You have their vacation You are a walking vacation. Your phenotype is like an escape. You have this sun-kissed skin tone. You're dewy and hydrated. You got this hydrated skin, sipping on coconut water. You know what? It's so funny because I actually I have a couple of friends who are Caribbean exoticals. So some of them are like mixed Haitian women, some of them are mixed Jamaican women. And it's so hilarious seeing how much people worship their phenotype and their culture. One of them even walks around with coconuts. Like she does everything with coconut. She puts coconut oil in her hair, perfumes and stuff that have coconut in them. She's constantly sipping on coconut water. She always has some sort of drink that has a coconut in it. So she is tapping into her exotic privilege. She's tapping into that island girl identity, and that is a part of what makes her memorable. Because think about it, some people even associate healthy foods, they're literally associating certain healthy foods with your identity. And it's hilarious because I see people in the United States, they're over here like fantasizing about pina colada drinks. And it's like, you are the pina colada. They're trying to capitalize off of your islands, trying to capitalize off of your phenotype. Every summer, they're over here taking cruises and spending thousands of dollars so they can fly to your island, put on a freaking costume. It's so hilarious how they talk about cosplaying. They'll be like, oh, everybody's trying to cosplay, we're the blueprint. Well, actually, if you are a Caribbean exotical, you are the blueprint when it comes to summertime fine, being a beautiful vacation girl. You know, you're the blueprint when it comes to island beauty or whatever. You're the blueprint when it comes to summertime social media beauty standards. Fitting the social media beauty standard, do you know how many people envy that? Do you know how many women have inferiority complexes right now because they don't fit the social media beauty standard? In fact, they even have social media filters where the filter will put a flower in your hair. Like, have you guys seen that on Instagram and Snapchat and stuff? They have filters where it puts a flower in your hair, where it makes your skin tan and it makes your lips a little bit more full. So they're mimicking your island girl identity. Also, a lot of Indian women are heavily fetishized and worshipped for their hair. I mean, think about it. The entire weave industry, majority of it is Indian hair, buying raw Indian. So if let's say you're 75% African and 25% Indian. Okay, so you got 25% raw Indian genes, and then you also have the African genes. You know, you've got majority black genes. So they can't try to throw you out of blackness as easily as they would with someone else. And if you have majority black genes, you probably have some of the advantages that come with that, such as maybe you have that body type. Because one of the main things they like to do when they're dissing exoticals, a lot of them like to say, we're shaped like SpongeBob SquarePants. Okay, well, let's say you're majority black. You might be shaped with that hourglass shape. You might have that Coke bottle shape with the fuller chest and the fuller hips or whatever. So they can't really talk shit about you in the same way. And then the hair that comes from your own family members, that's literally a multi-billion-dollar industry in the black community. And something else that I've noticed too is that a lot of people in the Indian community do have slightly keener features than the black community, obviously. And so I think that is another thing as well. If you happen to have slightly keener features, that is something else that a lot of women are going to become envious over, because women are contouring their noses into oblivion. They're getting these ethnic rhinoplasties and stuff so that they can mimic your nose structure. And don't forget the fact that Indian men, that is one of the top, like, most worshipped men in the swirler community. I actually don't think that white men are the most worshipped in the swirler community. I really think it's Indian men, Hispanic men, East Asian men. I think it's like Japanese, Korean. So your men that come from your community, those are the men that a lot of unambiguous women are chasing after. So that's another point of jealousy right there. If you already have some Indian in your bloodline, if you already grew up with, you know, making Indian foods at home or whatever, or that's a part of your background, and then you've also got this island girl background as a part of your history, you already have that multifaceted fluid identity right there. So you're already more adjacent to the Indian community than somebody who has never been a part of it. They never learned about it until they were 35. So that's another thing too. A lot of unambiguous swirlers are just now in their 20s and 30s. They're just now trying to learn about your background. They're just now trying to learn how to attract an Indian man so he can fly them to your island and then take some pictures where she has on a wig with your hair texture in it so she can flex on you. Do you see what I mean when I say you're the standard of beauty? You're the standard in terms of dark skin tones. You're the standard of living. You're a standard in terms of hair texture. And then people are also exotifying kind of this island girl, beachy identity. So if you don't have an island identity, I still think that people also fetishize India itself. I think they fetishize it because they're stereotyping Indian people as being more accepting of black people because a lot of Indians have a kind of a darker skin tone. So that's something else as well. So I don't hear them saying, "Oh, the Indian side won't accept you." They don't say that as much as they do about white people. Because generally speaking, people tend to stereotype white people as the most racist, and they don't stereotype Indians as being as racist. So I think that's another thing too. They don't really know how to insult you. I've noticed that with the Douglas identity, they don't really know how to insult you. So their insults don't really hit. And I think another thing too is that you're breaking the stereotype of what a mixed race person looks like as well. I think that some people, when they think of mixed, they only think of the black white mix or they only think of someone light skinned. So if you're darker skinned and mixed, you're breaking so many of their internalized stereotypes. You're literally like this unicorn. You're almost seen as like this unicorn black woman, and people are trying to pinpoint what it is about you that makes you different. And then I've noticed in the black community, they go out of their way to try to pull you back into unambiguous blackness. I don't see them really fighting over white passing mixed women as much as they fight over dark skinned mixed women. They're fighting to keep women like Justine Skye as the standard of dark skinned beauty because without you, they don't really have a standard of beauty, and they'll never admit it, but they really don't because, like I said, a lot of them don't want to see these three things at the same time: a dark skin tone, type 4 shrunken hair, and broad facial features. So if you have this Douglas identity, you meet the standard of beauty because you don't have all three of those features at the same time. But what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comments section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.